In the meantime, First Lady Laura Bush was in Thailand earlier today, meeting with refugees from Myanmar. Mrs. Bush went to a border camp that houses thousands of political refugees, ethnic minorities who were targeted by Myanmar's military regime. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Jim Axelrod reports from Bangkok.
The First Lady made an unusual side trip this morning, heading to the border between Thailand and Myanmar, heading to a refugee camp for people who fled political repression in the country many still refer to as Burma.
20 years have gone by. Everything is still the same or maybe worse in Burma, a country that was once the breadbasket that could feed itself and exported food. Now had the people who live in Burma suffer from malnutrition.
While her husband was criticizing the Chinese for their human rights record, Mrs. Bush met with some of the more than 38,000 refugees and made her own call on China and other regional powers to abandon support for the military regime in power in Myanmar and put some sanctions in place for the brutal crackdowns on those pushing for human rights and religious freedom.
We urge other countries to join us in those sanctions. The EU and some of the European countries have joined us, but we wish that other countries would. We think that the way we can be most effective is financially.
The junta also refused international help into the country after a cyclone there, costing tens of thousands of lives. Former White House staffer and Asia expert Mike Green says the First Lady's trip is more than just a photo op. It's a chance to put pressure on neighboring countries.
And she's, by going to the border, saying, we're watching, you're on notice, Thailand, India, China, and that's useful.
If Mrs. Bush's trip had a certain symbolism, so too did the date. Tomorrow makes 20 years since the regime in Myanmar seized the country. Jim Axelrod, CBS News, Bangkok.